Okay, cool.
Cool.
All right, we're just gonna start yakking then.
Just
Okay.
dive right in.
Tony, this is a weird day for me because I'm 30 years old. I was born in '83, and this
Congratulations.
is well, thank you. It's my birthday. No, I'm just kidding. This is I don't. I feel so old, and then don't take that the wrong way.
Wow.
Because
Then
I
how do
tell-
you- how do you think
yeah,
I feel?
Well, that's I feel like a dick now for saying that, but because Everclear and Soul Asylum and Eve Six were all bands I listened to in high school, and in fact, Soul Asylum was a band I listened to in 4th grade, and was the first concert I ever saw.
Sure.
So
That's awesome.
But-
Same with
but-
our guitar player, John.
Oh, really?
I believe, yeah.
But see, you, Eve Six, you're like the young kid. Well, maybe Space Hog, but you came after Everclear. Well, not after, but your big splash came after so much for the Afterglow was already on the back.
Right.
downside.
I like to think of us as the slightly youngish
Yes.
bucks, maybe on the tour by a bit, because honestly, when I was in high school, I was listening to Sparkle and Fade. That was a huge
Yeah,
record
right,
for
right.
myself and the other two guys in the band. We obsessed over that record, would listen to it every day going to rehearsal in our van. And then, I was in like 9th or 10th grade for Grave Dancers Union,
Yeah.
Soul Asylum, huge record for
Yep,
me.
yep.
So this is like a big honor for us to be on this tour also. I mean, we're huge fans of all the bands on this tour.
And I was just asking Dave because, I mean, the music industry has changed, the landscape has changed. What is considered top 40 music has changed significantly. But what from, I guess, this really spans like 1993 to 1999. What is it about that 6-year or so window of music that was special enough that this is Everclear's third summer, bringing I think they had the Gin Blossoms and Smash Mouth on one year. But what is it about bands from that short window that has staying power?
Those were the years that you and I were in high school. That's why it's special to us. I mean, I think in some degrees that is true. Whatever you listen to when you were coming up and learning how to be a person, learning about the world, that music is always going to resonate with you the strongest. I think that goes for people that came up in the 50s and, the Four Seasons were a big thing for them and stuff like that. But outside of that, it was actually a really good time for music because creativity was really rewarded and honored. Things on the radio all sounded different from themselves. Local scenes were still very thriving at that time. I don't think there's so much of a local scene anymore in a lot of places because it's all spread around the internet and everything, and there's good that comes with that too. But and it was a time of bands, so if you're predisposed to enjoying rock guitars like I am, that was a great time for music, and all these bands had a different voice and a different point of view, and that was all really rewarded then. The music industry was strong at the time and allowed for lots of different colors of the palette to shine through. It's sad that some of that has gone away a little bit.
Right. And obviously, being the Young Ducklings on this tour, I mean, talking to Dave, Soul Asylum had been around before I was even born.
Yeah.
1981.
81,
he
I
said
think.
they did.
82,
81 they
yeah,
started,
exactly.
and I was born in 83. But
Uh-huh.
obviously, the late 90s were a little bit different than the early 80s. The internet was coming into play
Sure.
already.
Yep.
Some households were even... I know Patrick probably had the first cable modem of anyone on the planet. But, that was starting to come into play, broadband internet and Napster. And there was no YouTube or SoundCloud or Facebook or Twitter. But if you were tech savvy and you had a lot of money, you could pay somebody $20,000 to make you a web page where you could download like a 30-second audio clip.
Right. I think we did that actually. Yeah.
And but with all that having changed already, what differences or how would you have approached trying to make it or break in today than you would have approached it in 1998?
It's a really good question, and when I talk to younger bands that are coming up, even some bands that I produced a few years back, it is a different world, and I think the first thing you have to do now is really embrace the internet and embrace this idea of social media, of interacting with your fans, finding your audience directly, because no one's going to do it for you. No one has to do it for you anymore. You know, when we were coming up, it was about, you know, obviously same as today, writing songs, being a good band, but it was mostly about building a local base and you know, making flyers, getting your music out there. You don't need to really do that anymore. You have the entire world as your potential audience directly. And it's the bands that can understand that and sort of work within that and use that I see having the leg up. So I would say, yeah, I mean, you know, dive into that. Don't be afraid of that. People listen to music with their eyes now as much as their ears. So, you know, not being afraid to put videos out there, you know, and being a visual presence is important too.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you know, when Eve 6 came on to the scene, I'm using so many stupid cliches today.
That's
I
okay.
apologize, but
The rock scene.
The rock scene. Okay, how about this? When you started getting played on alternative rock radio,
Sure.
I know you had been working at it for years, but you had.
It was pretty. We were very, very lucky.
Very,
we were very lucky.
Well, when you have 3 or 4 hits, you know, big hits on alt rock radio on your first major label release, you know, what challenge did that present for you as a band to be like, well, damn, we've got to make a second album, we got to make it quickly, and it's got to be as good or better. You know, what were the challenges that were presented to you
I
there?
mean, you just said them. I mean, it is the age-old thing. A band's first album is their entire life up to that point of creativity and ideas and work, and that's why a lot of times the first album is a very special thing. And you know, the second album, if the first one does well, you gotta get it out in a timely manner.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think those pressures were maybe felt a bit subconsciously, but we tried not to, you know, let it affect us too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Eve 6 has always been about songs first and foremost. You know, Max is a very prolific lyric writer and songwriter, and we were just, you know, we were working hard at the time, and I think pushed ourselves to try to deliver something that the audience would like for the second record. If we achieved it or not, I don't know, but you know, we still play a lot of those songs live today on the second record, so hopefully we did something right.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it can be tough, you know, especially if your first album is just a monster, you know what I mean, like some albums have. But I think we're able to spread it around a little bit.
Mm-hmm. You know, and on a tour like this, according to Dave, you all have 30 minutes except for Everclear. Is that your set, 30 minutes?
Ours is 30 minutes, yeah, give or take. You
Yeah.
know, we're right at about 30. I think Space Hog's maybe a couple minutes under that. Soul Asylum might be a couple minutes over that.
Okay.
But it's all, yeah, it's short and sweet. That's the vibe.
I mean, is that? Boy, I hope this doesn't come out the wrong way. But I've been like an accidental dick all day, and I haven't been trying to be. But
Accidental Dick.
Yeah.
That's an album title right there.
hey, there you go. I'll just be proud if you ever the next Eve 6
Next
album.
Eve 6, there it is. There, you heard it here first.
All right.
Cleveland rocks.
Now, when you're playing a show, I mean, growing up, back if you remember, maybe you played some of them. You know, the local alt rock radio stations would all have, you know, X Fest
Oh, yeah.
or N Fest or whatever.
Sure.
And everyone would bang out a 25, 30 minute set. But
Right.
the beauty of that having 8 bands is that every song played by that band was a song everyone in the audience knew. And I
Right.
like that model because, I mean, I love Dave Matthews, but his shows are like 3 to 4 hours
Sure.
long, and I want to go home, you know.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you know, a show like this where you have a half-hour set and you play, you know, Inside Out and Leech and Here's to the Night, and then you leave. I mean, is it easier to engage with your audience that way?
You know, I definitely, I think we come from the school of less is more, you know, shorter and sweeter is usually better. I was actually just talking to one of the guys from Space Hog today. I personally hate it when a band plays for like
Yeah,
more
right.
than an hour and a half.
Right,
Or I
right,
don't know, I'm
right.
short attention span.
Yeah.
But, you know, easier to engage with the audience, I don't know. I mean, when we do our headlining set and we can play an hour 15, hour 20, you know, maybe we just have really awesome fans, which we do, and they seem pretty, you know, they seem to want to hear what we're playing.
Yeah.
What's cool about the short set is that it forces you to really just kind of go for the jugular. Like you said, play the songs that hopefully people know. And yeah, I don't know if it's easier to engage, but it's certainly easier to perform for just 30 minutes than it is for an hour 15. So, you know, I don't think any bands are complaining about it out here.
And Tony, in 1998 or 1999 or whatever year it was, when Inside Out first went to the radio, before that was getting shopped around, to radio stations. Did Eve 6 know that they had a huge hit there?
No,
No.
definitely not. I mean, we were really proud of the record, but the record had kind of come up sort of under the surface a little bit. It wasn't like this big, major label bidding war and all this hype. I always like to think of us as coming in from left field a little bit, and certainly the way that first album, the self-titled album, came about, all happened that way. And, there was argument about what song was going to be the first single. People had different opinions on it, and we were 18 and 19 years old, so we were just happy to be doing it, But I think we felt that we were doing something different than other bands at the time, and that maybe gave us strength. And the fact that one came out first and was such a thing, we couldn't have predicted it. Thankful for it.
Yeah, and music was so different back then because we had a little local record store in my neighborhood called Spinners, and I went and CDs were like $18 because they didn't have a big distribution thing. And I bought your self-titled record because I heard Inside Out on the radio, and then I hear Open Road Song and Leech on that album, and then they get played on the radio, and I'm like, holy shit, I know these songs already. And it was a cool thing, and that was, obviously music was just consumed so differently back then.
And that's maybe a bit of what you might call a sad change. I think there's a lot of great things that come with technology of today, amazing things, but the idea of really listening to an album and giving it a real chance and getting to know it before you start to hear some of the other singles on the radio, I don't feel that happens as much. I mean, we all live in a faster society now. We all mix and match on, playlists and things like that. And so that's a bit of a bummer. So I'm glad to hear that it worked for you that way.
But that's not how it works for me anymore.
Exactly.
Is that the wrap-up signal out there?
That's it. That's the TM saying to cut. No, just kidding.
Okay.
That's John from the band. He just landed from a plane today. So he's just saying, I've landed, I'm alive. I think that's what that means.
Well, and getting to this venue, I mean, if you're coming by taxi, that is something to celebrate getting here alive.
Is it? Okay.
You came from that direction.
He did, yeah.
Maybe you saw it coming. It's not the safest place in the world. Hey, what do you got coming up after this tour?
This tour is kind of all of our thing right now. I mean, we're still only in like the first quarter of it. It goes all the way to mid-August. We got some fly dates after that. I think we're going to Toronto, going to Orlando, and then I don't know. We're gonna see. Max is just putting out a solo project that he just finished, and it just came out, called Honey from the Icebox. Really, really cool. Highly recommend it. Any Eve 6 fan should check it out. I do producing and writing for other artists, so I'll be doing that back in LA, and maybe eventually we'll get some more music out there. But we're really just digging this tour right now. It's all about the here and now, and having a big rock summer tour.
Anyone cool that you're working with, production-wise or songwriting, you want to plug?
No one cool right now. No one cool at all. No, it's more like behind the scenes, like writing songs for other artists to do. More pop stuff.
Cool.
Nothing that belongs on Cleveland Rocks.
It's all right. Well, we're being overtaken by hipsters and. No, I'm just kidding.
The door's open. The doors are almost, and we're right behind merch. Did you get a look at merch?
Yeah. Oh no, we'll get a shot of that.
Swing the camera over there and hawk all the band's merch.
We could walk out with some shirts if we wanted to.
You can, yes.
I could set that tight-fitted women's Soul Asylum shirt. I would look good in that.
Hell yeah.
Lady small.
Yeah, there it is, man. V-neck, boom.
Yes. Show off some cleavage tonight.
No, there's some cool merch from the bands, definitely.
Yeah.
And there's the Summerland shirt, and it's good stuff.
Cool. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to the show tonight.
Appreciate it, man. Cool.